of the Takwa-Takrade railway line at Achim in the Takwa-Nsoi municipality.
And also, there's Sports Minister Kofi Adams justifies the impending levy on Sports Development Fund before Parliament. It's News Central live on TV3. I'm Kemini Amanor.
And I am Mawuena Egbeta. The bulletin starts right now. Entry Boesiako, known affectionately as Chairman Wontumi, has pleaded not guilty to charges of assignment of mineral rights without approval and purposely facilitating an unlicensed mining operation. Wontumi has been granted a bail of 15 million cedis with 3 sureties. 2 out of the 3 sureties are to be persons with landed property. He is to deposit his passport with the registrar of the court, and he is to be placed on a stop list at all entry points. The 3 sureties are to deposit copies of their Ghana card with the registrar of the court. Wontumi as well is to report to the investigators every first and third Monday of the month. The investigators who are yet to file evidence of the entries of the end of month appearance. Bernard Boesiako, together with 2 others, including his company, Akwinta Mining, have been arraigned before the Accra High Court over illegal mining-related offences. Now we'll connect with my colleague Lord Eduasare, who's in court for us shortly, but I want to run you through those 6 counts and the persons involved in this all-important case, one that has piqued a lot of interest. It was a subject matter of conversation when the CSOs met the president last week about prosecuting politically exposed persons in the country's fight against illegal mining. Here is what we know based on the sheets, the charge sheet, as we've seen, placed before the High Court today. And amongst many other things, the Republic versus Bernard Boesiako and 2 others. Who are the individuals involved? Bernard Boesiako himself, known affectionately as Chairman Wontumi. Then there is one Kwame Anti, who we understand is at large. He's a second accused person in this case. And then there is Akwinta Mining Company Limited, the company owned by Wontumi, also treated as a separate entity and an individual on its own who can be sued. And so these are the 3 individuals who have been accused. But let's get into the charges against Wontumi and the 2 others. And the first count is assignment of mineral rights without approval from the minister. This charge specifically going to Chairman Wontumi. Then the count 2, the same offense really, assignment of mineral rights without approval from the minister. This one for Kwame Nti, who is at large. Then we see the third count, assignment of mineral rights without approval, and that is corporate liability for unauthorized assignment. That as well slapped on Chairman Wontumi. Then purposely facilitating unlicensed mining contrary to the country's mining laws. That slapped on Chairman Wontumi as well. Then this one, same charge, purposely facilitating unlicensed mining contrary to mining laws. That charge slapped on Kwame Nti, who we understand is at large. And then the final count, the 6th count, corporate facilitation of unlicensed mining, and that is the Akwinta Mining Company Limited, owned by Bernard Boesiako, but being treated as a separate entity, and so it will be expected to answer for this charge in and by itself. But let's get over to the court right now, where my colleague Lord Eduasare has been stationed for us all throughout the morning. Remember, this hearing in this first matter started as early as 9 a.m. when we connected with him. We got the indication that Chairman Wontumi was already in court with his lawyers and was awaiting the arrival of the Attorney General. Let's get a bit more in terms of the details from him. Lord, thank you very much for joining us. And so a 15 million cedis bail, but his plea was taken as well. Walk us through proceedings as it played out today.
Right, Mawuena. So, like indicated, Chairman Wontumi Bernard Intibuesha from the Ashanti Regional MPP chairperson, he pleaded not guilty to the two charges that you rightly outlined earlier. Now, the case is against himself, another person, Kwame Entry, and then the third being his company. Now, with Chairman Wontumi being a co-shareholder of the company, he represented himself as well as Akonta Mining. So, essentially, the charges were read for him, and then the Akonta Mining charges was also read to him, and then he pleaded not guilty to all of them. Now, his lead counsel, led by Andy Apiakubi, he indicated that Bernard Intibuesha Wontumi is a very known person, respectable person, a family man with wives and children, and so it's not something that if he is granted bail, he would flee. He indicated that he's a man of substance. His sureties are on standby. They are people who are also people of substance and will be able to post the bail when he is given. He indicated that there was an incident where the Attorney General indicated that he had to compel him to report to the CID on Monday. But the situation was that it was he, the lawyer, who was on his way when he got the call on Friday to be invited to the CID. And so he prayed to rather report on Tuesday. And so it cannot be said that it was his client, Chairman Wontumi, who was delaying and refused to report to the CID. Now, the prosecution led by the Deputy Attorney General, Dr. Justice Remsai, he did not oppose to that bail application by lawyers for Chairman Wontumi. However, he indicated that due to the nature of the case, has to do with Galamsey, that issue as of now is the biggest threat to the country's democracy, security, and so it shouldn't be taken lightly. He indicated that the terms of the bill should be such that Chairman Wontumi will not, as it were, abscond or leave the jurisdiction. He prayed for very tough bail conditions. For example, he indicated that once convicted or if convicted, Chairman Wontumi stands there's a propensity for him to go away for at least 15 years if he's convicted of the charges leveled against him. Indicated that by virtue of the fact that he's a man of substance, if the money is not something which is weighty enough, he could get around it and then leave the jurisdiction. And so he was essentially playing for tight terms of the bill.
Right.
After hearing the arguments from the both counsels, the presiding judge in the matter, Audrey Kokuvi, indicated that he was going to grant the bill since there hasn't been any opposition, and then outlined the terms. For example, so it was a 15 million bill with three conditions, three sureties. Two of those sureties are supposed to present landed properties, and then Wontumi himself is supposed to submit his passport, and then his name has been posted on the stop list on all the entry points in the country, so he does not leave the jurisdiction. Additionally, he's supposed to report to the investigator twice a month, which is every first Monday and then Wednesday of the month. Now, for the investigators, they are supposed to, as it were, file documents or evidence of entry to indicate that Chairman Wontumi indeed has reported to the investigators so that things to go on smoothly from then onward. So as we speak right now, his lawyers and then the people who are posting the bill or the sureties are still upstairs trying to work out the documentation. And so they haven't descended yet. This place is very crowded, full, and so we are waiting for that. The Attorney General, I spoke to him earlier. He indicated that, Mawuena, you recall that in the morning we were talking about the fact that there are two cases against Chairman Wontumi. There's a second case which will be heard later in the day. The Deputy Attorney General confirmed, but when I prodded further for him to give me details of that case, he decided not to speak on it. So we'll be here to monitor especially what the second case is on, and then we'll revert to this.
Right. It's important to mention that there's another case, but we don't know details of that other case just as yet. But as we speak now, Chairman Wontumi and his lawyers are upstairs trying to settle this 15 million cedis bail conditions and all of that. But now talk to us about the security presence at the law court complex and what the area is looking like, considering who is in court today and all of the interest in this matter.
Well, today was essentially the first working day, if I should say, as far as the courts are concerned, because the legal break is over, and so it got resumed today. Now, CID operatives were full here. They were posted at all the entry points, 4 of the entry points here at the Accra High Court. The CID operatives who had their vests on, others were I could count as much as 6 pickup trucks, and then there's the bus, the FPU truck, and so they are littered all over the premises. Some are stationed outside the premises, and then some within the premises. And so, as for the number of officials, I can't really count because there are actually numerous, one of them due to the nature of the case and the person who is it. Now, you recall that when Chairman Wontumi was at the police headquarters yesterday, there were some enthusiasts or party supporters who nearly created some form of trouble. And so I believe that CID operators or the police essentially wanted to make sure that there won't be a repeat of that. And so even right in the morning, they're not allowing people to come inside the premises. Only designated people or workers or people who are of interest in the case could enter the premises. And so they did all this, cordon the place off to make sure that security is tight and then there's no trouble whatsoever.
Lord, thank you very much, and we'll continue to monitor the developments there on that second case involving Chairman Wontumi and bring you details of. Also, the second accused is Enchi, Kwame Enchi. Might have been a slight omission of the W there as well. But we can bring you a lot more stories in relation to the Galamsey conversation.
Indeed. Now, 12 individuals are expected to appear before the Takwa Circuit Court for causing damage to a section of the Takrade-Takwa railway line at Achim in the Takwa-Nsui municipality. Now, this came to light when the Western Regional Minister, Joseph Nelson, led the Regional Security Council to the location of the distraction.
A railway line critical for Ghana's manganese exports is facing severe threats from illegal miners. The narrow gauge line owned by the Ghana Manganese Company Limited for hauling products to the Takrade port has been significantly damaged and encroached upon by illegal activities. In response to a viral video documenting the extensive damage near Achim, a high-level team made up of the Western Regional Minister, Joseph Nelson, MP for Takwa Nsui, Issa Salif Futela, and the National Security Liaison Officer conducted an on-site inspection on Monday to evaluate the situation. Illegal miners had dug out the entire foundation beneath the railway bridge, stripping away all the soil and leaving the metal rails precariously suspended in mid-air.
I think that for the police, you have to really make your monitoring devices even more sensitive. This didn't happen overnight. It didn't happen within 2 weeks. Certainly, it didn't happen within just 1 month. It's been going on for a while. And so I think that your system for scanning the whole environment must be sharper so that we're able to avoid such damage.
Further ahead, entire sections of the rail line had been removed, with the embankment collapsing into the water. The regional minister, very disturbed, called on traditional leaders to take control of their communities and urged the Ghana Railways Authority to increase patrols to prevent further distraction.
And in fact, I want to believe that those who do these things live in this town. They live here. They've rented houses here. They live here. That is where they get up every morning and come. They are in the communities. And so to think that this has been going on for weeks and we couldn't get any public spirited person, no leader here to show up to say that, look, this thing must stop. If any leader from this community had come here to really show concern, had come here to show leadership, I believe that this matter, would have ended as soon as the people showed up.
However, residents blamed the situation on certain individuals within the Ghana Railways Authority. They claimed that 2 officers from the authority had told them the new standard gauge line under construction would not pass through the Achim community.
Just 6,000 cedis. Because boys in way Jumano, Obi baby in one who come the one. No, I'm a boy, see what to Tradina because I will be catcher. I do my work as some was in Nanum. I will run with near your quan, a team like a quan of our tribute. It's in Nanum woman then view.
To tackle the current crisis, the youth and community members are taking action to reclaim the legal mining sites in Achim.
You could try near Bayaso, Ajasia, a youth near Ukrumiha, Yenny, Achim youth. Ubio work Achim Krumbia, or ye young boy to them, Ubiala Jinuhudi. Ubiala Jinuhudi, Tiyan Yenim Jumawi, Yebetimaye.
For the effective supervision, the Assistant Superintendent of Tracks at the Ghana Railways, Samson Nyame, disclosed that it has become very difficult for them to go on monitoring and supervision of the rail lines as the only rail car for monitoring has broken down.
We have to get mobility. We use railway and the rail car, and the rail car is now spoiled. It's now at Takwa. So we don't have any ways and means to come to lie, even apart from Takwa to this thing, Benso. We don't have any means to travel more than 4 miles.
In the meantime, the operational commander of the Western Central Police Command, ASP Edem Selassie, who briefed the Western Regional Minister, says 12 individuals were arrested in connection with the damage of the rail line at Achim and will be appearing before Takwa Circuit Court on Tuesday, October 7.
That is to say that we actually heard information about the people working very close to the railway track, and when we came, we managed to arrest 12 people, and as I speak to you now, they are facing court action. And in fact, we realized that the police was in a very deplorable state. And
Irama Smith, TV3 News, Takwa.
It's still News Central here on TV3. I'm Kemini Amanor. A bit more on this subject. I'm joined by Coordinator of Eco-Conscious Citizens, Awula Sewa. Awula, I appreciate your time this afternoon. Let's start off with the arraignment of Chairman Wontumi today. Obviously, he has, pled not guilty to all the charges against him. But how does that move come to you?
Well, it's something that's been long coming. You recall that a few years ago, our brother Kenashipi, Martin Sehu, and others made a report to the police about the ongoing destruction of the Kano Forest Reserve. And nothing much came out of this, but I don't know what happened to the file. They took a step in the right direction. And the hope is that not only him, but all those named in Professor Boateng's report, all those who have been named as being involved or in illegal mining will be arrested and prosecuted. And then we'll also have the police case principle, which means that if they are found guilty, then their assets will be sold and used towards the very expensive cost of reclamation. So that one realizes that there is no profit in illegal mining. If you are arrested and prosecuted and convicted, then your ill-gotten wealth will be used towards the cost of reclamation. It shouldn't be for the taxpayer to pay.
And indeed, I hear you talk about sustenance, in your submission right now. What else would you like to see to sustain this effort?
Well, we have to, one of the things we've asked for, what the Ghana Coalition Against Illegal Mining have asked for, is that in every locality where there's illegal mining going on, there should be key performance indicators. What are the MCEs and DCs doing? What is the police command doing? Given that they don't have resources. So if there's illegal mining going on, they should be held accountable so they can explain why it's going on and there's nothing they can do about it. Because as I keep on saying, like a sports record, we're on the verge of an ecological disaster. We face an existential threat. And if we don't quickly deal with this problem, we'll all be consumed.
I see. Awula, thank you so much. We'll leave it here for now. Awula Sewa is opinion regarding the recent development to do with Chairman Wontumi, who's pled not guilty to charges of illegal mining against him.
Now, the Ghana Gold Board Task Force has arrested an American citizen, Smart Philander, a Moroccan national, Nina Elsefsky, and 4 Ghanaian accomplices, Nanaya Osapong, Boateng, Soa Elisha, Evans Ahi, and Arnold Utute, for engaging in illegal gold trading in the country without a license. The arrest took place at the Snit Emporium near Marina Mall in Accra after weeks of surveillance and intelligence-led operations by the task force. The suspects were caught attempting to buy and assay about 2.1 kilograms of gold valued at approximately 2.2 million cedis without the requisite license as mandated under the Ghana Gold Board Act 2025, Act 1114. Now, during the operation, the task force also discovered gold refining equipment in the possession of the American suspects, confirming their intent to refine gold illegally within Ghana's jurisdiction. The suspects have been since arraigned before court in Accra on multiple counts, including conspiracy to engage in gold trading without a license, engaging in gold trading and assaying without a license, and attempting to refine gold illegally, contrary to sections 23(1) of the Criminal Offences Act 1960, Act 29, and 26(1) of the Ghana Gold Board Act 2025, Act 1140. Let's take you to the legislature now, and you may have heard news of the postponement indefinitely of the resumption of the House. Experts in parliamentary business have questioned the postponement of that resumption, which was earlier scheduled for October 14. The Speaker, in a notice released yesterday, said he would announce a new date for the members to return to post, citing undisclosed circumstances that are beyond his control. This has sparked concerns with the possibility the House may not be able to clear its workload before rising for the Christmas break. Let's get a bit more from Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Christian Yale for a bit more on this and the questions arising out of this. Chris, for many, it just means that Parliament is still on break, and so no need to worry. Are there any implications too, and what are these?
Yes, you are right, because one would just say that Parliament is just still on recess, and just when they are ready to do or to come back, they will do so. But assuming there is a lot of workload ahead of them, then it means that most of the agenda that they have ahead of them would not be executed because of the shorter period of time within which they would have to work from whenever they resume to somewhere Christmas. One of the major concerns when you talk to most of these experts or watchers of parliamentary business is the 2026 budget statement, the appropriation or the estimate for the various MDAs that are to be approved by Parliament to help government execute its mandate in the 2026 fiscal year. Aside from that, there were a number of bills like the Ghana Scholarship Authority Bill, which were referred back to the various committees to be reconsidered and brought back to the plenary for consideration and passage. Some of those ones would come back. It means that there would be much more time needed for the members of Parliament to look at all of these. There were some legislative instruments that did not mature before Parliament went on recess. Some of these LIs would mature within this period, but experts like Sami Obeng of the Parliamentary Network Africa are of the view that it is a cause for worry, really, considering all of these national issues like that of the Memorandum of Understanding between Ghana and the United States for accepting third country deportees, which needs a parliamentary ratification. In recent weeks, issues about DSTV pricing has also been dominant. Also, in the wake of all of these national issues that require parliamentary oversight, Sami Obeng is of the view that the earlier the better for Parliament to resume.
This is the time when Parliament wraps up on, ongoing businesses that it has already, by way of bills that have not been passed, by way of papers that have been laid that have not been dealt with, etc., etc. But more importantly, Parliament has to also consider the budget for the next year. And we have always known that one of the banes of our budget approval processes in Ghana is the time that parliamentarians, both those in the majority and minority sides, and the committees of parliament are given to go through the budget. We've always maintained that the time is very limited. We need to improve upon the timing. Another cause of worry is that Parliament, in announcing this suspension of its resumption date, did not give us the reasons why it is doing so, except to say circumstances beyond the control of the Speaker. That could mean a lot. That could mean anything. The people must know why our Parliament is unable to meet at a particular period of time. What are the reasons? So we are not speculating.
And Christian, you had a bit more for us in relation to this, but talk to us again as to what more the experts have been saying is the cause for concern in the look-up to the resumption of Parliament.
Yes, and I mean, even before I come to that question, we know that one of the other things to consider or looking forward to in the upcoming meeting is the swearing in of new MPs, two of them on the majority side, Akwetia, Bernard Bediakom, Tamale Central, Professor Alidu Seidu Mahama. And this is one that the constituents are looking forward to keenly. But also, when you talk to some of these experts and even critics of government, they are of the view that the delay in resumption of Parliament is probably due to Parliament not being given, the necessary funds to operate with, or there could be some backdoor conversations ongoing about the budget itself, which are some of the reasons for the delay in resumption. But there are other critics who are of the view that it is just a mere delay tactic or a diversionary tactic. Sami Obeng has a view.
Parliament must come clean with us so that we know, so that if these are challenges that all of us as Ghanaians must rally behind the institution of Parliament to call out the executive branch, we will do so, because Parliament is not an appendage of the executive branch. It is a co-equal branch which needs equal or adequate share of national resources for it to be able to do the work that it needs to do. Now, it wouldn't have ordinarily been a cause for alarm if Parliament had not announced that it was coming back in 2 weeks, and then 1 week into that particular announcement, another notice that says we are no longer coming. Then, I mean, if that had not happened, we would have thought that Parliament was still in recess and the appropriate time they will come. We know many, many times that Parliament actually does not resume on the dates that they intend to resume. Sometimes based on background conversations, they postpone these things silently without us knowing. But for it to have come through an announcement that says Parliament is coming back in 2 weeks, 1 week down the line, Parliament comes back and says we are not coming back any longer. We don't even know when we are coming back, should be a real cause of alarm for all of us. We must be asking the questions. Why are our people representatives unable to assemble as is required of them? It's my hope that in the coming days, this will be fixed. It is my hope that we wouldn't have to linger on for too long.
And that's Sami Obeng. Earlier, my colleague Christian Yale from Parliament as well on the latest as we know it. The House not reconvening anytime soon. The Speaker says postponed indefinitely. There are concerns being raised, but most certainly, as and when there are developments, trust that we will bring them to you. But that will take us on to our very first break here on the Bulletin. When we return, we'll talk sports, because the Sports Minister has been defending an impending sports development levy that you and I will be expected to pay. What are his justifications? We'll hear from him when we return from this break. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still live here on News Central. Let's bring you some more stories now. President John Dramani Mahama has presented a 500,000 cedi cash reward to the University for Development Studies following their remarkable victory at the FISU World University Football Tournament in China. UDS, who made history as the first African university to win the global competition, paid courtesy call on the president at the Jubilee House, where they presented the trophy.
This perfectly embodies the spirit of the reset agenda, Ghana rising through discipline, opportunity, and excellence. And so let me once again congratulate Professor Alassane, the Vice Chancellor, your academic team and management team, congratulate the UDS community and all who supported the team on this journey. You've brought glory to Ghana and renewed the faith in the power of young people, education, and sports to transform lives. Carry this your victory with humility. Let it inspire others to dream boldly and work hard. Good news for you. The presidency is also pleased to present you with something. We won't let you go empty-handed. So this is 500,000 Ghana cedis to be presented to Professor. It's a reward to the team for the good job you have done.
Well, there you have it. Congratulations to the UDS team. Away from that, Sports Minister Kofi Adams has justified the impending levy on the Sports Development Fund currently before Parliament. The government is seeking the levy to develop aspects of sports that remain underdeveloped. In September, President John Mahama gave his blessing to the proposal as Cabinet firmed up the final details of the bill for Sports Development Fund. Sports Minister has been explaining in this interview.
We are putting in all measures, especially knowing that that's going to be the final game. Every Ghanaian would want to be there. So we put in all the necessary measures, creating the fan bases around for Ghanaians to have a feel of our final qualification game for the World Cup. So I believe that all will be well. By Wednesday, we should have the tickets out so that people can start purchasing tickets for the game. We will once again engage with the security to make sure all the necessary security networks are put in place, so people who are coming to watch the game and people who are also coming to play will have a safe environment.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Kofi, why are you introducing a sports levy?
Sports levy?
Yes.
I didn't hear anybody talk about.
We are told that the government is introducing a sports levy.
No, government is introducing a sports fund that will be able to take care of, or we will have a well-structured funding for sports. We do not have that, and because we do not have a fund, just like the way we have for education, for health and the rest, it's actually challenged our supports for what? Sport and sporting activities. Young people qualify, they struggle, they go through all the processes, and you are unable to push them to participate in the competition. So the government have decided to establish a sports fund, a fund into which all manner of contributions will go into the private corporates, the public corporates, individuals, government itself, and through many other sources we'll be able to put money in there to use in the development of sports.
What is before Parliament now, and does it come with a levy? Because that's a media discussion that government is introducing.
Let's work with what is before Parliament. You see it. Every document that goes to Parliament, you will find it. You can't establish a fund without a levy. Surely every fund must have a form of a levy that contributes into the fund.
Well, coming up now is By the Numbers. Now, as Ghana's $3 billion extended credit facility with the International Monetary Fund draws closer to completion, IMF officials remain in Accra for the 5th review, now in its 2nd week, expected to end by October 10th. If the review ends successfully, Ghana will receive an additional $360 million, bringing total disbursements to $2.6 billion since the program began in 2023. Now, this round of discussions focuses on how the support has been used to stabilize the economy, reduce public debt, and drive reforms in energy, revenue mobilization, and social protection. It also reviews the performance of Ghana's Gold Board and assesses how the current administration has managed the broader economy. Now let's hear from the Managing Director of the IMF ahead of this review.
Back to say that on July 7th, the IMF's executive board completed the 4th review of Ghana's program with the fund. Ghana received about $367 million at that time, and total support under the program reached $2.3 billion since May 2023. As you alluded to, we do currently have a team on the ground in Accra for the 5th review under the program. The team is holding discussions with the authorities and other stakeholders. Obviously, the team is going to be assessing progress made, continued progress made under the program, and they will. The mission will conclude on October.
Today on By the Numbers, we take a closer look at the program's performance as it approaches its final phase, where the money has gone, what impact it's made, and what the next stage means for Ghana's economic recovery. Mawuena will do just that. Mawuena, what are we learning?
Right, and so we're getting into the dying embers of this extended credit facility as we received from the International Monetary Fund. At that point in time, it was the only solution for the country, considering, if you want to remember, 2022 and the difficulties which the entire country experienced as well. And so this is what we know. It was a $3 billion extended credit facility expected to end next year, 2026. It started in May 2023, and it was a 3-year program. Total amount as disbursed, $2.3 billion. We're expecting to receive the all clear to get the next tranche. It will be the 5th tranche to come in, and then that will raise it to some $2.6 billion. The core conditions upon which we went there and were receiving this extended credit facility support: fiscal discipline. We're expecting, amongst many other things, to cap our deficit at 5%, under 5% of GDP for the year 2025. In terms of revenue, we're expecting to raise tax to GDP to about 18% by the year 2026. We'll find out whether or not we're on course for that. And then monetary control as well. The BOG was to halt direct budget financing. And if you want to get into a bit of the histories as to why we're seeing this, remember that cost in terms of losses that the BOG incurred, some 50 billion cedis losses at the time. One of the many things which resulted in those losses was the extended support the BOG had to give to the government in funding the budget. And as a result of that, the back and forth resulted, when the haircuts came around, it resulted in significant losses for the central bank as well. And so that became a significant aspect of the conversations when we went before the IMF. And then a reform of our state-owned enterprises, because they have been on a downward trajectory for quite a while. It's reason why when the president, and I mean the current president, was sworn in, of the many things he did first was to meet all the heads of the respective SOEs for a meeting and give clear timelines or clear instructions that they either return to profitability or they shut down, or a number of the companies as well are merged. And so this is why, or the enterprises rather, are merged. And so this is why as well we're seeing that play out in terms of the expectations from the IMF for us. But what has been the economic indicators from when we joined or before we joined, and what the current state is now? Because the questions need to be answered as to whether or not we are on track in terms of what it is that we went to the IMF to do, and whether or not we've seen improvement as a result of going under this ECF program. And so We'll start off with GDP growth. And 2023, pre-ECF, the growth of the economy, 3.1%. Currently under the program, 5.7%. I think the finance minister had underestimated that, but we are appearing to be on course to be hitting this target or going above it. Inflation stood at around 54.1% at the last time of check, as was announced by the Statistical Service. We're at 9.4%. Public debt to GDP ratio at the time before we had to enter into debt renegotiation, amongst many other things. This is where we stood at. Now, per the numbers, we're at 44%. Exchange rate as well, and these are BOG specific numbers, 14.1 in terms of the exchange rate. We're at 14.1, currently 12.5. Fiscal deficit percentage of GDP as well, we're at 9.2%, but we're at 5.1% now. And our reserves have moved from 2.3 months to 4 months. That's the import cover we have as well as a country. And so these are what we're comparing the program, our performance before and currently as we are under the program. But this review, this fifth review by the IMF, there are a number of things that they are looking out for in terms of the conversations with our team. And the first is revenue reforms. Remember, the finance minister has, amongst many other things, mentioned that there will be reform of our VAT system. That should be a part of the conversation. In fact, it is one of the many things we can look forward to in terms of the removal of the COVID-19 levy, because you remember the finance minister had mentioned that there will be a reform of the VAT, and that will take care as well of the COVID levy. And so that is expected to be a part of the conversations. Then the debt of the state-owned enterprises, they'll have a conversation as well about the path upon which our inflation is. And then energy sector debts, that continues to be a significant aspect of our debt and continues to be a cause of concern for every government, because every now and then we keep reminded by both the World Bank, the IMF, that has a potential to as well cripple the entirety of the Ghanaian economy. And the expected disbursement outcome, $360 million US upon approval. That's what we have in terms of the latest from where we were before, what the situation is now, and then as well what we're looking out for in terms of the latest review as well, Kemini.
So it looks like it's working. It's working.
Yes, I mean, it works.
Somewhere in the middle.
That's why some say we should stay on 1 extra year so we can cement all of the good work that we're doing, because it's described as a big brother looking above your shoulders and ensuring that you're doing everything right. And so some are asking that if possible it be extended, but the government says they're not going to.
But the sustenance post that is also important. We'll keep an eye on that.
Very important.
Mawuena with by the numbers. Let's bring you Regional Hub now. Now, the Northern Region chapter of the Ghana National Association of Teachers is urging government to, as a matter of urgency, provide life jackets and other incentives to hundreds of teachers who cross rivers and streams to go to island communities to school to teach. According to the association, these life-threatening conditions the teachers go through are very dangerous with no motivation. They also want government to expedite action on the implementation of the 20% allowance for teachers serving in rural and underserved communities. Now, President John Dramani Mahama, during his State of the Nation address earlier this year, announced plans to introduce a 20% allowance for teachers and health workers posted to rural and underserved areas. We'll connect now with Christopher Amwako, who's our Northern Region correspondent on this story. Chris, good afternoon to you. We know that the issue with the life jackets is really crucial for these teachers, but, you know, paint us a picture of how dire the situation is. Where do the teachers live? How far do they have to travel to teach? Give us the full scope.
Yes, so Kemini, you remember that since 2022, we've been doing stories on how our teachers cross rivers and streams to their respective communities where they are supposed to go and teach. And that situation has been a serious one for the teachers. We also do remember instances where teachers have complained that even as they go through these challenges trying to access their schools to go and teach, there has not been any form of motivation or any instance where the government has provided them with life jackets to be able to cross these streams and rivers to go and teach. And so it's become a matter of concern, not only to the teachers, but their associations as well. And so the Ghana National Association of Teachers in the Northern Region has made this appeal to government to ensure that it considers providing rural teachers with these life-saving materials so that they'll be able to cross their rivers and streams to go and teach, because not everybody or every teacher will accept postings to these deprived communities. Let's take a listen to what the Northern Region chairman of the Ghana Association of Teachers has been saying about the provision of life jackets.
Through a lot, particularly within here, some of them are crossing rivers to get to island communities, just to make sure that they do their job by way of trying to model, trying to nurture, trying to groom our young ones. Of course, in our collective bargaining agreement, we have what we call the 20% allowance for the deprived teacher. It has been there in the books for years. Happily, we heard when government mentioned that they're going to make sure that this particular allowance will be enjoyed by the teacher. But up to date, it is yet to come to fruition. So we are calling on government to expedite actions on this so that the teacher, the rural teacher, of course, will benefit. No amount of money can actually be compensated for the good work that the teacher is doing, particularly the rural teacher. But at least if he knows that he's getting something better by way of comparison to the one that is teaching in the in the towns or in areas where they can have access to social amenities, at least it will motivate him. Over here, those that are crossing rivers, we also want to plead that life jackets are made available to them, even if they are not bridges or across the rivers. At least they can, in the event that there is accident, the life jackets can save their lives.
Well, Christopher, obviously a really important subject for the teachers. But, you know, these life jackets, will they be enough for them in terms of the, ability to carry them across these rivers and streams? Are there even plans to ensure that the teachers don't have to go through that before they get to school?
Yes, so Kemini, you know that provision of education infrastructure has been a very serious matter for government over the years. You go to most of these hard-to-reach communities, you have a school structure which is not even in good shape, which is dilapidated. That is one. You also go to these communities, there are no accommodation for teachers. And so these teachers are compelled to stay in the town centers or their communities so that they can commute to the communities where they teach. And so with this challenge at hand, the teachers will have to endure the daily struggles of crossing the streams and the rivers to school to be able to teach. And so until government is able to provide accommodation for teachers in these communities where they teach and also make available the needed infrastructure in the communities, these teachers will have to continually commute from these communities where they live, crossing streams and rivers to be able to teach. And that is where the situation is very challenging.
Very well, Christopher, we'll leave it here for now. We'll keep an eye on that situation as well. Christopher Mwako is our Northern Region correspondent, bringing us the story about the plight of teachers who have to cross streams and rivers to get to school for the service of teaching young ones. That'll be all for Regional Hub.
Now, the Chief Executive Officer of the Environmental Protection Authority, Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche, is urging Ghana to take space science seriously to address emerging challenges in the agriculture and mining sector. Speaking at the maiden Ghana Space Conference at the University of Ghana, Professor Kluche emphasized the need for the country to invest in the production of space technologies, noting that the global space economy, currently valued at some $600 billion, is projected to exceed $1.3 trillion within the next decade.
I would say that Ghana is already using space, or many institutions in Ghana are applying space science. If you have used Uber, Yango, or any of those, or finding location or sending location to somebody, you are already using space technology. For us, as I said, we use space to monitor the air quality, forest, land, water, and all of that. We are already using the technology. What we are advocating to use or to do is be not just the users, but also be producing the space technologies. That gives us more economic power than the usage of it, which means we only go to the market to buy, to use. But we want to be producers of the technology as well. So the space policy that is passed by Parliament will position us to be able to be the producers of the technology. One will ask, why do we want to spend money? Because, well, space is expensive. Spend money getting to space or producing space technologies. What we see is that we can use space to help us in a lot of things that we do. In agriculture, we can use space science to do precision agriculture, which means that the amount of money we spend on inputs for agricultural production will reduce tremendously because we will know the exact quantity of input to put there. We can use space technology for precision mining, which means that prospecting to degrade the environment in many ways, we can reduce that because we can be very specific to where we can touch on the minerals and zoom in straight there to explore than to prospect. So Ghana very soon will stop. In fact, we have started the process to stop prospecting licenses because there are technologies to be precise as to where we can find gold or any mineral to mine. The same way we can use to monitor our water bodies. So if we can use that to improve upon our agriculture, which we depend on so much for our in the economy, and also let the minerals or gold that we depend so much for our economy. It means that Ghana will be a better place when we explore space technologies much better than what we do.
Professor Nanama Brown-Kluche is the CEO of the EPA, ending our bulletin for you this afternoon. I am Mawuena Egbeta.
And I am Kemini Amanor.
You wanted to say something?
No, really. Okay. A little distracted. We shouldn't be.
Okay.
We'll see you same time tomorrow. I'm Kemini Amanor. Bye-bye.